Hi, my name is Josephine Vogt. I attend Herzing University. I'm currently in Community and Public Health Nursing, and this is my program plan presentation. Hello, my name is Josephine Vogt. I attend Herzing University, and this is my program plan presentation for Community and Public Health Nursing with Professor Jill Hensley. The community of the larger Twin Cities is a large, diverse, and blossoming community with many resources to offer. I currently reside in the city of Minneapolis, yet I perform most of the community assessments on the sister city, St. Paul. Because of this is the location of the school I am performing my project in. In the Twin Cities, there are many areas of the community that need improvement. Some of these being the increasing amount of homeless people and the increase of the rate of juvenile crime, as well as the increasing rate of obesity in the state of Minnesota. Throughout this course, I assessed my community to find answers to these issues and to find educational ways to implement change in the cities. With the help of my liaison, Emily Barstad, I was able to compile educational materials for her parent-child education course at the Minnesota Waldorf School on why physical activity is so important in young children. This project is aimed to reduce the rate of obesity in St. Paul and the surrounding cities and Twin Cities. Community is all the individuals, groups, and families living in with a geographical area that deserve high-quality health care. Community health nursing is when healthcare is viewed in a holistic way that incorporates all aspects of the individual's quality of life. Within the community of the Twin Cities, there are several large cities within. Minneapolis is where I reside, with roughly 425,000 residents. The population is very diverse with different ages and different ethnicities. Many of the Minneapolis employees are employed by large employers such as Target, Wells Fargo, and other Minnesota headquarter-based companies, according to OpenGov. Minneapolis has many difficulties, including the difficulties in the Black community has faced, as well as the growing homeless population. In 2020, the wrongful death of George Floyd at the hands of the Minneapolis police force shocked the community, and the Black Lives Matter movement rapidly grew in these past 3 years. By looking at social determinants of health, which are ways to quality of measure of life, one will be able to see Minneapolis and the larger community as a whole. Healthy People 2030 has proposed 5 domains of SDOH with objectives highlighting goals for the United States. Under the domain of economic stability, the current goal of increasing the number of working-age people is nearly equal to the Minneapolis standing. Yet Minneapolis does have a larger proportion of people living in poverty than the goal from Healthy People 2030, according to the United States Census Bureau Quick Facts. Under the domain of neighborhood and built environment, an increase in the proportion of adults with broadband internet and reduction of rate in minors and young adults was chosen to be observed. Ultimately, Minneapolis has a larger amount of young adults committing violent crimes than the proposed goal. In education, access, and quality, there's an increase in the proportion of high school graduates who graduate in 4 years was assessed, and Minneapolis shows similar proportions to this. Minneapolis overall is a blossoming community with rich diversity in the arts, as well as a strong social justice force that has shaken the world. Many of these objectives are important to assess and acknowledge the downfalls of the upcomings in the Minneapolis community. During the Windshield survey, I assessed the city of St. Paul because that is where my school is located that I'm performing the project on. The city is a large urban area. It is mostly safe for families. There are many children about when I was doing the survey. There are many schools for all ages, elementary, middle, high schools, and even colleges, which all seemed a bit run down, but they all had great playgrounds with new paint. I did not see many homes for sale, but I did see many stores in the area that you could buy anything that you would want on a given day. The city is mostly designed for cars to drive, but there also is the light rail system. There are many roads that are currently in a very dangerous state because of the snow and ice, but there are many restaurants, ethnic stores, churches, and a lot of beautiful places. I noticed a lot of community places, large playgrounds, libraries, and other public spaces such as trails, baseball fields and basketball courts, soccer fields. There's a large zoo in the city, Como Zoo. There's also, the community is also home to the Minnesota soccer team, the Minnesota United, which has the Allianz Field, as well as the Xcel Energy Center downtown. which hosts many different events. The community does have a weakness in their large homeless population, which is quite evident, and there is a need for an influx of housing for these people in order to obtain a quality of life where they are eligible for welfare, jobs, community resources. So digging deeper into the assessment data on the city of Minneapolis, the city of St. Paul, a community assessment was done. So for this assessment, I assessed St. Paul, which currently holds, or is home to 307,193 people. There's large diversity among those ages. About 54% of them are white, 19% are Asian, 16% are Black or African American. That's according to United States Census Bureau of Facts. Currently, it's estimated that about 6.7% of the community is without health insurance, and 66% of the community utilizes women and children's services. The main causes of death, according to the Minnesota Department of Health, are cancer, heart disease, and COVID-19 in 2023. Overall, St. Paul does have high morbidity with obesity, diabetes, and smoking. And because those main causes are cancer and heart disease of death, a large risk factor of those is obesity. So this issue clearly needs to be addressed. Overall, when comparing the statistical data of St. Paul, Minnesota to the larger national statistics, many differences are present. St. Paul has a higher prevalence of obesity compared to the national average, yet has a lower prevalence of smokers than the national average. When comparing demographical data, St. Paul has a higher rate of diversity than the state of Minnesota, yet has a lower rate of diversity than the national average. The poverty level in St. Paul is much higher than in Minnesota and the national statistics. And all of this information is from the United States Census Bureau of Facts. This shows that St. Paul has a lower overall median income and a higher poverty rate than the statewide and nationwide averages, which greatly impacts the health and well-being of people. Right. So my liaison, Emily Barstad, kind of a distant connection, I was able to interview her to kind of get a better job of her role in the Minnesota Waldorf School, as well as just her overall job and her thoughts on it. So Emily Barstad, she holds a bachelor's degree in education from the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, and a master's degree in education from the University of Minnesota. Her main responsibilities are to lead class, which is on Thursdays and Fridays from 9 to 11 a.m. For the Growing Together class, which is a parent education class, but the children come along, ages 1 to 5 are welcome. This includes setting up the room, discussions with the parents about parenting, and having snack time, and then free play outside. Through this interview, I was able to communicate with her and ask her more in-depth questions about her role. She really enjoys to know that children's childhood experiences are enhanced and being made better by their families being present with them. It's kind of hard for her to keep up with the curriculum as a newly hired teacher, but she does really love the work. Part of her job is connecting people to the outside community, which is another thing that I was encouraged to look into for this project. So kind of doing some research into different community resources that people could utilize. Families First in Minnesota is a nonprofit organization that works to aid parents and children in many different resources that they may need. They offer like preschool programs, affordable childcare, crisis nurseries, all sorts of things. And I think that this would be a great resource for Waldorf knowledge to kind of be incorporated into. Early childhood family education aims to strengthen families' relationships. It's kind of similar to the Growing Together class that my liaison teaches, but it's more affordable, and I was hoping that this collaboration could bring just a larger population of people into these educational courses that would benefit people. And finally, All Seasons Integrative Health, which is a naturopathic doctor, and I believe that this would just be a good resource for these parents that are looking for a more holistic way of healthcare. Interventions that I perform to fulfill the goals previously stated include research on the benefits of encouraging physical education at a young age, and the creation of a trifold bulk poster for presentation purposes, and the creation of a trifold brochure. So my diagnosis for the community is a deficit of knowledge among the caregivers and toddlers, ages 1 to 5 years, of St. Paul, Minnesota, related to a disadvantage of an age-related knowledge deficit and available resources, as evidenced by childhood obesity rates increasing in the state of Minnesota, according to the Minnesota Public Health Data Access Portal. This is related nursing diagnosis for this project as it relates to the issue on hand, which is the increasing obesity rates in the state of Minnesota, which will be reduced by educating parents on the importance of promoting physical activity at a young age. My goals for this project. After the completion of an education session, caregivers and toddlers will be able to verbalize 1 to 3 reasons why outdoor physical activity is beneficial at a young age. And after the completion of an education session, caregivers will be able to demonstrate correct application and use of safety equipment for the outdoors. Long term, in 1 year after the education session, caregivers and children will show an increase in physical activity outside of the school and a decrease in childhood obesity rates by 10%. So for the interventions for my project, I started off by communicating with my liaison about the research that I was going to be needing and to do and the resources that I can use for this project implementation. Research on the importance of physical activity at a young age. This took me quite a long time. I had to research about Waldorf education and just finding people to get permission to perform these interventions in the school. I created a material for the project, a brochure, an activity, and a poster board. And then I performed 2 days of education to the caregivers and children of Growing Together class about the needs of encouraging physical activity at a young age and what outdoor play is safe, or outdoor play is important, outdoor play is, and outdoor play safety. I also encouraged follow-up on these education resources, which was super helpful. I spent a lot of time communicating with my liaison just kind of about the project, which was super helpful. She definitely knows more than I do about the benefits of this stuff and just how I can engage the class and how to keep this a fun and exciting project. This is the poster board that I created for the class. As you can see, it kind of talks about why I encourage free play. There's some health benefits to build strong muscles, bones, lungs, and the heart. Why play outside? It helps their immune system. It helps them get better sleep. And then it talks about outdoor play safety, which includes kind of helmets, sunscreen, things like that. And this is just a more detailed version that parents were allowed to take home. A brochure for the parents, and this kind of has more detail than the previous thing and something that they can look back to and reference to. This is me with one of the students in the class. He's a little guy who really actually enjoyed playing with the helmets. This was a super fun time for me. I really loved engaging with the children and engaging with my liaison, kind of getting to know her. And yeah, I thought it was a great project. I think the success was good. The parents seemed receptive to the information, and the caregivers showed proper knowledge of why outdoor physical activity is beneficial. They showed correct application of the things, and I thought that my short-term goals were accomplished. The long-term goal of showing a decrease in obesity rates by 10% is hard to assess, but because it was so recent, but I do believe that it was beneficial just to spread this education to have people know. Over the course of 6 weeks, students were given the chance to perform a community health assessment of their own community, as well as develop a well-structured community health nursing project. Through this, I learned that the Twin Cities has a high poverty rate, homeless rate, and rate of mental illness, as well as an increasing rate of obesity. Through health assessments, I was able to gain a better view of what my community needs at this time. Through project implementation, I also gained a great idea of what it looks like to incorporate change into my community based off the research and analysis that I developed. And here are my references, and thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you learned something. Thank you.